Okay, I am going to try to post this on Instagram. Hopefully they will let me, but if they don't, you're going to have to watch this in portrait format on YouTube. This is water from my hand, sorry. Okay, first you're going to start with your palazzo pattern. Now that was already covered on the exclusive community, and I believe you're watching this as an advanced learner, so you already know how to cut palazzo pants. So I'm quickly going to explain how I did what you saw in that video. And yeah, so I'm just going to draft out roughly what the palazzo pattern will look like. It's your crotch, waist, hip line, and then down to the length of your palazzo. This is roughly what the generic palazzo pattern looks like. So this is your inseam, this is your outseam, this is your crotch line. This crotch looks funny. Let me straighten it out. Yeah, that's it. And then this. Now you can go ahead and take this pattern and use it to draft your dhoti. So I'm quickly going to cut this out and show you how to use this palazzo pattern to create your dhoti pattern. Okay, so this is it now. I'm so self-conscious about that finger because of the injury on it. Okay, so this is it now. This is the palazzo pattern. Generic. This can be altered. I personally do not leave my palazzo trousers like this. I make modifications to it, but this is the basic. If you want a loose, like regular generic loose fitting palazzo trouser, this is the pattern to start with. This is the front pattern. I do not need to draft the back pattern because we do not really need it in creating our dhoti. So I'm going to take this now and place it and quickly show you what I do to create my dhoti pattern. Now the first focus rather is on the waistline. Because they are going to be pleats on your dhoti, you are not going to use the person's actual waist. In fact, most times most dhotis are made with an elastic band, so you're going to be using your hip circle as a reference. So hip circle divided by 4, and then you're going to add your total number of pleats. That's total pleat size. What I mean by pleat size, as I must have explained in earlier videos on YouTube and on the exclusive community, is the size of the pleats. That is this size of the pleat. If this is your pleat, for example, let's say this is your pleat now. If you open this pleat from here to here like this, what do you have? If it's 2 inches, for example, that is your pleat size. So if you take this and multiply it by the number of pleats you want on your outfit, this applies to all forms of 9 pleats. This applies to 9 pleats. Now if you take this and multiply by the number of pleats, maybe you want to do 10 pleats. You say, okay, each pleat is going to be 2 inches, for example, which is like this, facing any direction you want, times the number of pleats. That is what you use to add to whatever measurements you have. In this case, you're going to take that calculation. If you want to do 4 pleats on the side, for example, so decide on the size of the pleat. It should be as deep as possible. So I would suggest a minimum of 3 inches per pleat. Minimum. You can go higher, you can do 4 inches, but at least 3 inches per pleat. So if you're doing 4 pleats now on each side, it means you're going to do 4 times 3 inches. So that means whatever you have as your hip circle divided by 4, you are going to add 12 inches. Please take note of the calculation. Do not memorize what I just said. It's up to you. Decide on your pleat size, decide on your number of pleats, multiply them, and then add it to your hip divided by 4, and then add your sewing allowance. The only sewing allowance you'll be adding is the sewing allowance for the crotch. You're not adding any sewing allowance for the sides, because if you look at that video, you'll notice that there is no side seam. So let me give you an example. Say your hip is 40, so you have 40 divided by 4 will give you what? 10. 10 plus your sewing allowance here will be 10 and a half. You shouldn't use more than half on your crotch line. It will be 10 and a half. if you decide that your size of pleats is 4 inches, for example, let me say 4 inches, size of pleats 4 inches, and you want to do 4 pleats, that's what? 4 times 4, 16. So 16 plus 10.5 will be what? That's 27.5. So the length you should be having here is 27.5. Now notice that when I was pointing here, I did not do it straight like this. No, I'm doing it along the line we have already slanted. If you followed up my trouser pattern, you already know why this line is slanted and how to slant it. So from here, you just continue straight on that line with your tailor's ruler, or sometimes I improvise with my tape. So this total length now, for example, based on what we just calculated, will not be 27.5. I hope we're together. So you are going to mark the points where you have your total measurement. You are going to trace out everything you have here. My hand is not straight today. Okay. So I'm tracing out everything I have here up onto my desired length. Please, if your palazzo length is hitting the floor, your dhoti does not have to hit the floor. For that particular pattern I used in the video you saw, I actually made kind of like a cuff at the ankle side. It's not compulsory. If you're going to put a cuff at the bottom side, that's that, oh sorry, a band at the bottom side, you can subtract the length of the band from your full trouser length. You also subtract your band height from the full trouser length. I'm sure you already know how to do that, so I'm already going to it. So let's say this is where we are going to stop our dhoti at. We are leaving this distance for maybe the cuff. Please use your measurements. I'm just trying to explain to you what to do here. So your why am I stammering? Your job is to take note of all the steps and then use your measurements to practice everything you see here. That's the basic thing. So at this point, which has been decided to be the length of your dhoti, you are going to measure and mark out your ankle circle. So your ankle circle divided by 2 plus sewing allowance. Remember, the only sewing allowance you're adding is for this side. You're not adding any sewing allowance to this side. Reminding you again, there is no side seam, so there is no sewing on this side of the outfit. Your outer seam is not going to have any seam line. It's going to be seamless. It's only the inside that will have a seam line. So when you're measuring and marking out your ankle circle divided by 2, you're only adding ½ inch for this side. So let's say your ankle circle divided by 2 is 6. That's your ankle circle is 12. Divided by 2 is 6. What you should be measuring here is 6.5. Please use your measurements. I'm just giving you rough estimations just so you can get the gist of what to do. Now at this point, we no longer need our palazzo pattern. It can go with a straight line, a perfectly straight line. So use your ruler or whatever you use to get straight lines. You're going to connect this to this. Once this is done, this line is not straight. Once this is done, you officially have your main pattern for your dhoti. So I'm quickly going to pause now, cut this out, and come back to show you how to achieve your seamless edge and how to cut out the back pattern of your dhoti. Okay, so now we have our dhoti pattern. I'm going to show you now how to take this and transfer it to your fabric in a way that you have no seam line at the sides. So first, you take your fabric and fold it into 2, and then you see this line, the outer line of the dhoti pattern. You're going to take it and place it against that line. So you see the outer seam now. There is no need to put any allowance. Just make sure that, are you seeing, it's on the exact line. On the exact line, can you see? And now I'm going to go ahead and trace out the front pattern just as it is. Please use your own measurements. Very important. If you are if you have access to your clients or the person you're making this outfit for, it is really important that you take all the necessary measurements. You can check the Instagram page for important measurements for trousers. I think I did 2 videos on it, so you can watch those. Now that we have this traced out, I'm going to go ahead and take this off, and then we are going to do the same process we used to get our crotch extension at the back. Now I won't be able to go into it in detail because I've already covered it before, but for you to know how to extend the back part of your pattern, that's the back of your pattern, I don't know what method you use. I believe that there are so many methods to approach everything, but the one that I have used and that always works is using the crotch circle and your crotch length. So what I usually do, first I'm going to measure and mark out that distance I took out from the front pattern that made it slant like this. You add it back and then add extra 1 inch, so that you now have something like this, which you can connect back to the end of the Dhoti pattern. Go ahead and extend this as well, straight line. And now this is what you're supposed to do. You take your tape, measure from here all the way to here. You also measure this end, and then subtract everything you have from your crotch circle. You'll be able to tell what to extend here. For details about this method, you can join the exclusive community. Once you're in the exclusive community, you have access to me. You can ask me questions. So long as you ask it during working hours, you'll get a response as soon as I see your message. So that's that. Now, using this length, you see this length from here to here, from here to here, you are going to extend it to where you have your crotch extension. So after you've done your calculation and you have your extension, take the same measurement and mark it at that point. So you have this, and then you can connect it like this. Now please pay attention to what I'm about to do, because we are going to be cutting out 2 patterns at once. We are going to be cutting out the back pattern as well as the front pattern all at once. But the wise thing to do, please be careful, do not cut out your front pattern together. You know, this is on fold. We have 2 patterns here right now. We have the front and the back here as I'm looking at it right now. So what you're going to do now is cut this along the pattern of the back, not the front. So I'm not going to be cutting this line, I'm going to be cutting this line instead. So I'm cutting the 2 of them together. Notice I am focusing on the back pattern. I didn't cut this line. So at this point I now have the back pattern cut. Then next you're going to separate. Please be very careful so that you don't do this, mistakenly do them together. I'm going to separate it now. Remember, this is on fold. I'm going to separate this now and cut only the front pattern. I am not cutting the 2 together anymore. So only the one on top. On that one now I am going to cut out the front pattern. And you see the back is still in place, untouched. I'm also going to slant this out as well, all the way to this end, still not touching the back. So this is the center seam for the front and the back. Now to cut it again, so that we have for the other side. Right now we have front of one side, back of one side, but we need front and back of the other side. So what you do in this situation now is to open it up and place it on the fabric again, so that you can get the other side. So we're going to cut another one. What we just created now, I'm cutting it again, so that we can have the other side ready as well. I don't think you need to watch me do that, so let me pause the video and then I'll come back to show you what we'll do with the two parts. Okay, so I have two of this now. This is one. Oh, this fabric had a hole. Okay, I did it. Okay. This is one side. One side. This is another side. Can you see it? So the first thing you do is to join the crotches together. So the two front excuse me, the two front crotches, you're going to sew them together, and then the two back crotches, someone please correct me in the comment section. That's like crotches. The two back lines, you sew them together. So sewing this one together and I'm sewing this one together as well. So I'm going to do that now and come back and show you what it looks like. So front to front, back to back, no side seam as you can see, and I'll be back. Okay, so I have sewn front crotch to front crotch and back crotch to back crotch. You open it up, this is what you have. Now this is the inseam. This is the side that goes inside, that's on the inside of the leg to the crotch and down. So I'm going to go ahead and sew that one as well. This is the inside of the trouser. This is the waist in quotes. This is where we're going to have our Dhoti pattern. Can you see? This is where it's going to be. But this is the inside, so I'm going to sew it together. And I'll be back once again. Okay, so I have now sewn the inside of the Dhoti. This is the back crotch. This is the front crotch. You can still see our slants there. This is what you have. And now you're going to go ahead and pleat. Now, your pleat should be at least 4.5 inches from the center. That's where you should be starting from. Don't start your pleat anywhere close to the crotch area. It should be as far from the crotch area as possible. So at least 4.5 inches from the crotch line. That's where you start measuring your pleat size. So already you can rewind. From the beginning, we have determined the pleat size and we've determined how many pleats. So when you get to your 4.5 points, you measure and mark out your first pleat. Determine the distance between the pleats. Mark out the second pleat. Mark out like that until you have your final pleats. So for each pleat you do, make sure you are doing the same thing as the back as well. So what I like to do is notch. The pleats have to match. You can't pleat at some point here and go and pleat at another point at the back, or do a smaller size of pleat here and go down at the back. No, everything has to be the same. So whatever you mark here should be the same thing everywhere. So that's what I do now. Please watch carefully. Once I've marked out where I want my pleats to be, I take the full trouser and I mark it everywhere. So I'm going to take my scissors now and notch all the pleat points so that I know that whatever I pleat at the front is going to take place at the back too. at exactly the same point. So can you see it's all marked? So whatever I do here is going to affect the other side as well. But I am not going to pleat on the back. I am going to pleat on the front, because the direction of the pleat is also very important. I will explain in a bit. I'm about to explain. This is what we have. All your pleats must face the outer seam. That's the seamless side. You must face it. So if I'm picking our first pleat, for example, this is our first pleat. You are facing it in this direction. This is the space. You pick out the next pleat. Sorry. You pick out the next pleat. You are facing it in this direction. You pick out the next pleat again, and you are facing it in this direction. Are you already seeing it form? Can you see? You're already having that drape at the side. Now, I'm sure you know how to do pleats, so I'm not going to go into that. First, your pleats must face this direction. See where my pleats are facing. They should not face inside. They should face this way. Even when you're doing the back, face it. Everything should face towards the outer side of the trouser. Same thing here. Pleats should face this way. If you are doing the back, pleats should face. Everything should be facing here. The focus should be towards this point. So I'm not going to focus too much on that. I just want to show you what to do when you get to this point, because you can't pleat it like this. When you get to this pointy edge, you are going to take your pleats. They will meet now, so you allow them meet like this, and then you have the final curve. Can you see the final loop? So you're going to take this pleat to meet this one, and to loop together like this. I'm sure you can already see our pleats forming. I'm going to go off camera now and put the pleats together and come back. But basically, 9 pleats all the way until you get here, and then you're going to make your pleats join together so that you have that final loop. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can drop them in the comment section below, or to get a faster reply, you can join the exclusive community. I'm going to leave a link under this video so that you can be able to click it and access the exclusive community. So let me go off camera and do my pleats, and I'll be back. Okay, so these are the pleats. I'm going to start by explaining the front. As you can see, the pleats are facing this direction. Like I said, this is the first pleat, this is the second pleat. All this thing is clear enough. Third, and then the final one that formed a kissing pleat. The pleats are literally kissing. So the last pleat from the back and the last pleat from the front are going to meet together like a kissing pleat and form this pocket. It's like a bucket. Can you see the importance of all the pleats being the same size? So you see this one is facing this side, this one is facing this side, and they've come here and they formed what? A loop. This one is facing this side, this one is facing this side. They've come here and they formed a loop. Can you see it? And then the final one facing this side and facing this side. And then you have the final loop. So you can do as many pleats as you want. Just do the calculation and add it to your hip circle. This is what you have. If I should put this to the side, remember this is, can you see that sharp point? That's the end of the outer seam. So you place it like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you guys are watching, but you officially have your Dhoti piece. Now, if you look at mine, you may not really be able to see the outline. That's because I used a pattern fabric. So if you really want to see the beauty of your Dhoti trousers, you should use a plain fabric. That's when you see all the pleats one by one. So repeat the same process on the other side. Like I said, 9 pleats facing this way, 9 pleats facing this way. This is from the front, from the back. They will meet at the center here and form a kissing pleat and a loop. And repeat the same thing on the other side. The pleat sizes must be the same. The pleat positions must be the same. The pleat numbers must be the same. So if you're doing 5 pleats here, you're doing 5 pleats at the back. If you're doing each pleat size to be 3 inches, for example, on this side, same thing. Whatever you're doing here, do the exact same thing. You can just notch it the way I did in the video. So that's it. I think I've explained what needs to be explained about this style. See you in the next one. Bye. Bye.